Hey everybody, happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are having a wonderful evening and a great week so far. Welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam, gaming, and Gunpla. I am Stephen Bayless, aka Midnight Hatter, your host, and joining me as always, the Blue Gamer Gundam explainer, Adam Blue. How are you, man?
Hey, doing good. Yeah, glad we're at another Wednesday. I am tired though because I was working out and it was a pretty tough workout. Um,
Just rub it in on all of us guys that are packing on pounds, packing on that
no,
winter weight to stay warm.
hey, you know what? I went so long not being serious about working out. It's like I could finally legitimately talk about it. It's funny because there's this thing, there's an event going on, and the trainer invited me to it. It's where you like do your max on these certain things. It's a bunch of people are there. It's in the middle of the day on a field with music, and I was like, no, that's not. I'm not an athlete. But he eventually talked me into it, so I'm going to be doing that next Saturday.
Heck yeah,
Um,
man, dude, that's awesome. Like, seriously, report back, like, how that goes because
I
that's
will.
one of those things that just, like, to me, it's, like, the same time as when I did my first Gunpla competition. It's like,
Oh,
it's something that you never think that you're gonna do,
yeah.
and then
That's
you
a
put
good
yourself out there and you never know, like, whether you're gonna be fantastic at it, maybe you're not gonna be great at it, but the experience is worth way more than anything, like, whether you're good
yeah.
or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
you could
it's
regret not doing it.
exactly, yeah. I mean, you regret 100% of the shots you don't take or something like that is the,
Yeah.
is the
No,
Gretzky
really.
quote.
That is a really good thing to bring up because, even I think when it comes to Gunpla, it's like one day I need to enter a competition, tournament, contest, whatever, just to do it, you know?
100%.
So yeah, that's kind of it's one of the so I think this is, prepping me. This kind of being on my edge with the physicality and learning is, like, teaching me to do things that I wouldn't do, and I hope that gets me to enter a Gunpla
Heck
tournament.
yeah, man. Cause so, like, you didn't grow up an athlete, right?
Nope, I mean, I was active, but it was always, like, playing Aliens, or I played hockey street
Yeah.
hockey a
Yeah,
lot,
there you go.
but it was never, like, training or, but I had a job where I was actually on a bicycle a lot for 6 years, and, I would go to the gym, but I guess it was more of my body at that age was able to deal with that, and then as I got older, started settling down in a
Yeah,
job,
and
it's
kids will
yeah,
do that too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude, like, I started playing soccer when I was 22 years old, and I played, like,
Oh,
semi-professionally for, like, 12 years,
wow.
and won a couple of, like, district championships, and
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't
yeah,
know you had
yeah, I mean, it
won
was,
some championships.
so and met, like, the most amazing people. It was probably the fittest that I've ever been in my life, so it was a lot of fun, but
Yeah,
again, like,
because
when I was in high school, I never saw the appeal, but,
interesting.
sometimes there's just, like it's just finding the thing that you can latch onto, and, like, that's what I really enjoy
Yeah,
about it.
but that's really cool about the soccer. I didn't realize you were playing that long, like, because, that's a lot of work. Like, I the running around and kicking out of all sports, I don't know if this is true, but it seems like that would be the most exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I mean, I was playing 3 games a week, and,
Oh.
like, my whole shtick was being the guy that could run the longest, the guy that never had to be subbed out, like, that was
Oh.
and it's just, like, I might not have been the best shot, I might not have been the best defender, but, like, I always had stamina, endurance, so that was my sort of
Are you
calling
able to
card.
are you able to equate that to a mobile suit?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, like, if
Yeah,
you were an athlete, like, what mobile suit would you be?
yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. We'll have to think about that because
Yeah,
I
maybe by the end of the the show, we might have come up with something. Because
come up
yeah,
with
I'm even
something.
thinking yeah.
Oh, man. So, well, today is actually an amazing day for me because it is my ninth wedding anniversary today.
Oh, congrats.
So, hey, thank you. Appreciate it. So
Yeah.
yeah, 9 years with my wife. We met in 2012, got married in 2016. Um, and I swear that this has a Gundam tie-in, so just, bear
Yeah.
with me for a second.
No, no, this is cool.
But, yeah, best almost decade of my life. But what's interesting is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I think that this is one of those serendipitous things that you and I have had in common where it's like our birthdays are one day apart. I'm pretty sure that you and I both met our wives like within.
A year, because
Yeah,
it was October 2011 that I met my wife,
that's
and
wild,
it was
man.
2012 for you, and we got married in 2012
So
when you
so
guys.
you were getting married when I met my wife.
Yeah, but, yeah, we had been with our significant others for that similar amount of time. We've been going through that kind of understanding marriage kinda similarly and understanding about ourselves through our wives.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, it's so fantastic to be able to, like, grow old with your best friend and, like,
Yeah,
get to experience someone who really, like, grows and changes with you, and, it feels the same when we're talking about things like Gundam, when we're talking about Gundam video games and stuff. I think
yeah.
recently was like the 10th anniversary of IBO, which is like, 45th anniversary of Zeta, 10th anniversary of IBO, 9th anniversary of my wedding. Like, man,
Oh,
where is the
30th of
time
Wing.
going?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, right now is the half anniversary of SD Gundam G Generation Eternal, and they have a
Oh,
special promo going on. So I would be remiss if I did not share,
I
you
get it.
know, again, it's my anniversary, their half anniversary. Go check it out over on Twitter. I actually posted a link down in the description on YouTube, and they are doing a special promo where you basically are doing the unit assembly pulls like on on the website as opposed to doing them on your phone, and you get
Oh.
10 pulls per day. And from those 10 pulls, every mobile suit, it's kind of a complicated promo. I'm going to try and simplify it. So every 10 pulls that you get, you have the opportunity to select what your favorite super rare, super secret rare, and rare mobile suit are. And at the end of the promo period, which I think is the 26th, you will get that mobile suit sent to you in game.
And you s
So,
wait, did you say you could do this on the website?
yeah, you do it on the website.
Huh.
And let me see. I actually let me pull up the screen share here. Hopefully, I can actually show you guys what we are looking at. Um, So we've got Eternal Road missions added. Producers live stream. Let's see. We got an
The
ad.
the,
Here we go.
oh, yeah.
The early bird choose your favorite SSR half anniversary unit assembly campaign. So here's how it works. You log onto the website and you log in with your Bandai Namco ID. You pull 10 mobile suits at a time, up to 10 times per day. Of the mobile suits that you pull, you have the opportunity to select what your favorite SSR, SR, and rare unit are as your favorite unit from those rarities. And then, what is it? On the end of September, it doesn't say the exact date. But I think it says by 9/26. So I'm assuming it's the 26th. By the end of September, you are actually going to get the units that you picked as your favorites from this campaign.
Well,
So
I'm just now clicked on the Gundam TR-1 Hazel Raw, and I'm gonna set that as my favorite SSR.
oh, heck yeah, man, that's a good one. So there's a
I know.
ton of, like, Advance of Zeta in there. So this is what the website looks like, obviously. I already have my favorites locked in. So I have the Zaku FZ, the Bernie
Ooh.
Zaku from 0080 here. We've got Char's Zaku, and we've got the Leo space type, Oz version, of course. I'm not an Earth Sphere
Oh,
Alliance nerd. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, you get to and I think there's over 200 units that are available from this, promo. So there's 200 units that you could potentially unlock. Zaku 1, GM, Ball, Zaku 2, Char Zaku, Char Zigok. Um, this one is a great one. So when I first
ooh,
started the game, the Gundam Unit 2 early type was one of the units that I used to kind of like, you know,
okay.
clear the game. There's tons of Johnny Ridden stuff. So if you're a Johnny Ridden fan, I'm pretty sure that there is a Johnny Ridden unit of each rarity. It's like Johnny Ridden's Gelgoog is an SSR, Johnny Ridden's Zaku is an SR, and I think that there's like a Johnny Ridden something that's a rare. Uh, Anavogato Zaku too, like
Ooh.
totally made up units.
Oh, really? That wasn't even anything?
No, no, I'm just making fun of it because, like,
Oh,
it's just funny. It's like, you ever notice how they kind of do these MSV after the facts where it's like, we only ever saw Anna Volgato in a Gelgoog, but then they went back and said like, "Oh, no, he actually had a Dom too," and it's like, "Oh, well,
right,
now he actually had a Zaku high mobility type."
right. I
They
know what
just
you
keep.
mean.
Yeah. But so this is like I said, it's an awesome campaign celebrating their half anniversary. It's crazy to think that this game has been out 6 months already.
Ye that, but then I was also thinking, I remember back when they had, like, the network test or whatever, and then even
Yeah.
I think when I visited Bandai Namco, they let us play it for a little bit or something, like, it seemed like it was we were waiting forever,
Oh, I know.
and then it came out.
And if that wasn't good enough, check it out. Boom, number 1 in store sales ranking again this week, and so they are giving away 3,000 free diamonds, which is a free 10 pull on the unit assembly. So if you log on to the app now, you get 10 free mobile suits. 1 is a guaranteed SSR, so you can't beat that deal.
Yeah, um
They're giving away a lot this week.
yeah, that's pretty good. I think it's balancing what you discovered where some of it was requiring putting money in to get those exclusive units to beat, uh, so that could be the balance.
I think so, for sure. And part of it probably has to do with the fact that this week is probably the least interesting story event.
Oh, yeah,
Look,
like
okay, I know I've said this before, but the story event that just launched yesterday is IBO Gecko. I've said that, okay, with like the SD Gundam, I was like, I'm not going to participate in this one. I'm not interested in it, but it was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the RPG elements of it. This one, man, I cannot bring myself to play anything IBO, like,
hmm, I
just
mean, is
can't
that a
do it.
protest? Or is
It
that you
is
just don't care?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I just don't see the value in it, because even some of the story events that maybe I didn't care as much about, say, for instance, like the Gundam Thunderbolt, um, there were some fantastic units in the Gundam Thunderbolt story campaign, such as the Psycho Zaku, that, they not only did they work in that campaign, but they also can be used in like 0079 campaigns, which is kind of broken if you think about it, because it's like you're using a unit that was not in the 1 Year War,
Yeah,
uh,
but wasn't?
but it's a perfect example of what I want to talk about tonight, because one of the banner suits associated with this event brought up a discussion, a debate, a friendly discourse, whatever you want to call it, over on Discord. I voiced my complaints about one of the banner suits because we're getting a lot of like recycled stuff. And so it kind of
Oh,
encouraged the conversation around when it comes to any game, whether it's a card game, whether it's a video game,
okay.
almost every game revolves around having simple rules that govern how the game progresses,
Yeah.
and then individual units, cards, uh, effects, abilities that break the rules of that game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's almost like there's that barometer or baseline of what you're
Yeah,
playing with, and then there's little things that you can do to kinda work around that. Yeah.
exactly. So, like, perfect example is something like Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Every turn in Dungeons and Dragons, you get to attack one time. But there are certain character abilities, certain magic effects, certain other things that allow you to attack twice, thereby breaking the rule that you can only attack once.
Yeah.
Um, there's obviously rules in the Gundam card game where it's like, okay, if I attack a mobile suit, then I don't deal damage to the bases. But if I have breach, then
Yeah.
any damage that I have, so basically every game, and it doesn't matter whether it's, the latest card game or chess, which, obviously
Yeah.
one of the oldest games. The whole point is that there are rules that govern all of the pieces, rules that govern the players, and then certain abilities, certain things that allow you to break the rules in strategic ways that make the game more interesting.
Yeah, and I can even add to this game I've been playing Odin Sphere. It was like a PS2 vanillaware, awesome, gorgeous artwork, side scrolling, more of a brawler, right? But
Yeah,
there's ways I am breaking the rules by pulling off certain combos to juggle the enemy to not be able to then attack me. So it's almost like I'm playing against the game in order to, yeah, get through it. And
great,
I like that feeling.
great example.
Mhm.
And so, one of the things that Bandai Namco has done with their video games is like in GBO2, for instance, you see a lot of units that are because you have the trichotomy, if you will, where it's like you have supports,
Oh
raids,
yeah,
and generals.
yeah, that's right.
But maybe halfway through its lifespan, like 2, 3 years into the game being developed, they started introducing units that maybe it's classified as a general, but it plays more like a raid
Yeah,
because it has a high melee attack and,
a
whatever
little
the case
quicker.
may be.
Yeah.
A little bit quicker,
Yeah.
it's designed to play in a particular way. You have supports that play more like generals. You have generals that play more like supports. So there's this conflation of abilities that it's made the game honestly a lot more appealing to me lately because you're not as bound to this um you're not bound to this structure of like, well, there's 3 suits and everything's rock, paper, scissors, which
Right.
is something that I didn't like about the original game to begin with. So now that you have mobile suits that kind of break that mold, makes them kind of more interesting, right?
Yeah, and even Balatro, I think, is another good example,
Yeah.
like, extreme example. Like, it's meant that's the purpose of it. It's like a card game, but there's all these things we're gonna toss in there. Yeah, and that really does mirror GBO2's later life cycle of,
Yeah.
"Oh, now we have to have higher costs, now we have to have," like, yeah, I love okay, Cat, I love the generals that play as raids, and I remember over time, Talos Mobius would say, "Oh yeah, that's a general you would play as a raid." And I was like, "Oh, that's my style then." And I kind of learned I like that style.
Exactly. So to bring this full circle, what started this debate is that we have what is this, the 5th exclusive Char unit available as one of the banner suits. So obviously the event is an IBO event, but typically what they do is they'll have one banner suit that is specifically geared to the event and the other one is kind of just like a general appeal mobile suit. In this
Right.
case, we have the UR-EX Zeong, and it comes with, the EX Char Aznable. What's interesting about this, and what my complaint is that of all of the EX Char units, every single one of them is an attack type. You have the Zazabi with Char's counterattack Char. You have the Zaku 2 from the Origin, which is the Origin Char. And now you have the Zeong, which is, you know, Char Aznable from the One Year War. Even in the game proper, Quattro and his SSR Hyakushiki are attack units. Now, the regular Zeong, the SSR Zeong, is a support unit, and so it makes sense that the EX version, the UR version, would be a different type. But what's disappointing to me is that literally every single EX Char unit is an attack type.
Hmm. Maybe that's to stop people from having complete like Char uh loadouts or something.
Potentially so.
But
Um,
that seems to be more story based than gameplay mechanic based, you know?
I'm glad you brought that up because
Okay.
one of the contents was that, hey, that makes sense because he is an attacker. Like he's not a support pilot, he's not a defense pilot. Like Char
Yeah.
Aznable is the fast-paced attack, attack, attack type guy. So lore-wise, it actually makes perfect sense.
Okay.
But from a gameplay perspective, it's kind of boring.
Yeah. It is, and I mean, you could even argue, well, let's make it where the abilities then make it where it might be a support type.
I am so glad you brought that up.
Is that was
Dude,
what you were thinking?
dude, you and I are humming on the same page here
That's
because
awesome. That's
there
awesome.
are particular units in G Generation Eternal that kind of straddle the line between different categories. So, a perfect example would be the EX Full Armor Double Zeta Gundam that just came out in the last banner event. I think it's actually still one of the featured unit assemblies if you wanted to try and get it.
Yeah.
It's a defense type, which is kind of not really Judo's thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it has the highest attack power of any defense type unit in the entire game. Like, it is insane. The barrage special
Okay.
attack, it's got an area attack that makes it super powerful. Like, now here's the thing. It may have huge attack power, but it doesn't the actual weapon effects themselves do not break the mold of a defense unit. So, like,
Okay.
typically a defense unit, when they have an attack power that has an ability attached to it, it reduces the attack or reduces the accuracy of enemy units, which is one of the reasons that, like, the Quinn Mantha is such a powerful unit because when you hit with its map attack, you're not only reducing the attack power of units, but you're reducing their morale, like, whatever the
Oh,
tension,
yeah.
that mechanic. And so like, the Quinn Mantha is one of the best defense units in the game, in my opinion. Well, obviously, now the full armor double Zeta is even better for that same reason. But what would be interesting, and this is where it's like, is it is it the right time, and should they break the rules on this? What if you had an attack unit that had a support-like effect attached to one of its weapons? So, like, here, we're looking at the Zeong, and it's got an EX weapon that increases the power, the lower your remaining HP is, which is actually a pretty common effect for attack units. Either they deal more damage if they have higher HP, or they deal more damage when they have lower HP. What if instead of that effect, they had one of those reduces the enemy defense by 30% effect,
Mm.
which is common among support units? Um, would that be a broken ability? Or would it kind of balance out in the long run because without having the same attack buffs that attack units normally have? You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be something that, I guess it would really have to depend on maybe them testing it out and throwing it out there and seeing what people say, because sometimes it's interesting in these games where the community comes up with stuff that the developers never intended,
Yeah,
you know?
true. And because ultimately the weapon effects are starting to get, I don't want to say they're starting to get bland, but I mean, ultimately every series has a unit that does something similar. There's minor differences, but every
Okay.
series has an attack unit that deals more damage when it's either higher or lower HP, and they have a ability that will, um, you know, deal more damage. Like, oh well, let's see, this one is increases its own attack by 25%. Um, so so basically attack units buff themselves, whereas support
Yeah.
units debuff enemy defenses. So, like, my favorite unit, the SSR Zeta, drops defenses by 30%. It increases the damage from beam weapons by 15%. So, like, the two
Mm.
weapon combo of using the Zeta Gundam allows other units to deal more damage to an enemy. And then defense units either reduce enemy attack or they reduce enemy accuracy. So they're basically protecting everyone around them by reducing enemy ability to deal damage, right? Once you start introducing units that can do both, it might be game breaking, right? Like, imagine if you had an attack unit that had a super high attack power and also reduced enemy defenses by 20%.
Yeah.
It's kind of broken.
So, it seems like then it almost would be like that wouldn't be the case. It's almost like they developed themselves against a wall, because it would almost be
Good way of
too
putting it.
obvious to break it, unless there's something they introduce where there's development branches on a unit, and then it becomes a defend or a support, and then that makes you wanna then have 3 variants so you can develop them.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an interesting way of going about it,
Yeah.
especially, like, one of the things that I recommended was opening up, because they recently had a poll go out, I guess 2 weeks
Oh,
ago. One of the questions that they asked was, "Hey, would you be open to SP conversions for pilots?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Like, there are pilots that I would want to use, but that are not strong enough to win the
oh,
game. So it's like, if I could dump experience points into them and make them better, obviously I would. Um, yeah. No, there's
okay.
there's there's definitely room for that. And then, where was I going with the
Well,
weapon abilities? Because that was another. Oh, so there are other levers that they can pull, right? So,
okay.
perfect example of this, I mentioned the Psycho Zaku. The Psycho Zaku, when compared to the Hyakushiki, both of them are SSR units, both of them are attack units, both of them have map attacks. However, the Hyakushiki has its Hyper Mega Launcher weapon, which fires in a straight line, whereas uh, the Psycho Zaku has a spread like shotgun style barrage weapon that covers a wider area but shorter. And so contextually, those 2 units, even though they do virtually the same thing, have different applications, which I think can be
Hmm,
interesting.
yeah. It's funny to talk about map attacks and all that. It's really reminding me because 'cause I've been playing Super Robot Wars Y, and there's so many similarities even though there are a lot of differences. And it's actually kinda made me go back and think, you know what, I could be thinking of Super Robot Wars Y a little deeper than this, but I almost feel like Eternal is or the generation games are a little more or a little deeper in general. Is
I
it?
would say so,
Yeah.
at least after watching your, review of the game. So, honestly, if you guys haven't checked it out, Adam did drop his video review. We talked about it a little bit last week,
Yeah.
SRWY, but, like, today was your video that was a little bit more in depth and covered a lot more ground. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
check
and
that out because I mean, it kind of makes me sad. Like I watched your video and I was like, you know what? Maybe I will start getting into Super Robot Wars. And then after watching your video, I was like, nah, never mind.
yeah, I think it's especially if you're deep into Eternal, that's why I think Bandai made Eternal a mobile game and Super Robot Wars a console PC game. I
Yeah.
think they were like, "Uh-oh, we have to have 2 markets here."
I think that that's a very astute observation, is that there really are 2 different markets when it comes to those games, because one is a story-based, like, we threw around the term visual novel last week. It's not
Yeah,
quite that bad, but, like,
but
it
it's
really.
new, interesting things with characters people love, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Whereas Eternal, it really does have some challenging stuff, especially when you get
yeah,
into the higher levels of the Eternal Road. Like, those are challenging stages that rely on your in-depth knowledge of the things that we're talking about, whether
mhm,
it's weapon effects, whether it's attack types. Um, I think I mentioned back when they were doing the Generation Tower East event, the like, I swear, the only way that you could beat that event was if you had the Psycho Zaku or a similar attack type unit that had a spread map attack, because literally you would have to position that unit on a space that gave it an attack buff, and then once you had it in position, you could spread fire on a bunch of strike rouges in order to knock them out in one turn. If you did not do that, you would have 8 strike rouges, each taking pot shots at your best attackers. And so it's like you needed a unit that could do that, and the Psycho Zaku was one of, like, 2 or 3 units in the game that could do that.
and but did it require just a unit that could do that, or is it where you have to move a certain way on the and do it in a certain number of moves?
That definitely plays a part as well, but at the same time, like, um and I talk about this when it comes to tabletop RPGs all the time too, is like the economy, the action economy dictates a lot of what you can do. And so especially in a game like G Generation Eternal where each unit gets 1, maybe 2 moves per turn, in the Eternal Road stages, in some of these, like, event stages where you're limited, like, okay, you can only have 3 turns, and you have to, like, wipe out all units in 3 turns, you physically could not do it if you didn't have units that either have multiple chance steps, like Machu, when she is using the G-Quux, she has,
Mhm.
like, the extra chance step, or Char Aznable, the Char's counterattack version, the EX Zazabi, that one has an extra chance step, so you can destroy 3 units per turn instead of 2,
Yeah.
and that's if you're strong enough to destroy a single unit in a single attack.
Yeah.
So, there are very few ways that you could take out 8 units in a single turn and still have actions left over to do the other things that you need to do in the stage. And so, like you said, it's like sometimes it's positioning, sometimes it's managing your actions, but sometimes you physically need a unit that is able to wipe out a large number of units in a single go. And
D
there aren't many units that can do that.
Were you lucky to have units for that? Or would they be units people would have?
Lucky, yeah, I was gonna say, I think a lot of it is making sure that you, like, play through a lot of the story events and stuff like that,
Okay.
because, if you play through if you played through the Stardust Memory event, then you have the SSR, um, Full Burner and the SSR Valwallo. If you played through the Thunderbolt event, you have the SSR, uh, Full Armor Thunderbolt Gundam and the SSR Psycho Zaku. Psycho Zaku's a little bit better than the Full Armor Gundam, but the EX Full Armor Gundam is amazing because, again, it's another one of those defender type units that has a ridiculously high attack power. So not
Yeah.
only is it gonna block for you, but you also have, like, a barrage attack that can wipe out a lot of units in one go.
Okay, well, for the full armor double Zeta and that, uh, what was it? The full armor Thunderbolt, uh, I guess defense because armor?
Yeah,
Is
which is
that
kind
what
of like
okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, and it's funny because I guess that makes sense in a way, but if it was based on the pilot, but it's not in this because there's pilot's like a separate thing, you know?
But see, and that goes back to my original point, is it's like,
Yeah,
when you're looking at Char Aznable, yes, Char Aznable as a pilot would be an attack
an
pilot,
attacker. Yeah.
but, for the purpose of gameplay variation, it would make more sense to have the occasional, "This Char is a defender, this Char is an attacker, this one's a support."
Yeah, I think then in a way, I think this kinda goes back to they have set it up to break the rules because it's almost like the mobile suit could be canon or not and how they decide what to do, come out with variants, you know?
Yeah, and it cracked me up because I think when the game first came out, somebody was talking on my Discord, and they said something like, I think they said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I think that this EX unit is either gonna be a supporter, a defender, or maybe it's gonna be an attacker," and it's like, well, that's all 3. So, yes, 100%. It
I love
reminds me of, like, those soccer commentators that say stuff like, "Oh, that would've been a goal if it had gone in." Like, just well,
Oh,
you
that's
see you see, I think that the team that scores the most goals is gonna win the game, and that's just controversial take. But, yeah, it's so silly, so, let me put it this way, is, like, you're always gonna see that the ultra rare unit, the EX unit, is going to be different than whatever the SSR version of it is, because you saw
yeah.
it with the Zeta Gundam. The Zeta Gundam, the SSR is a support, whereas the ultra rare is an attacker. Um, the Zazabi, which the Zazabi wasn't even in the original game, but when they did release Char's Counterattack as a story, the Zazabi is a support unit, and the ultra rare Zazabi is an attack unit. What are
Mm,
some other examples? The Gundam itself. I think the RX-78 in the game as an SR, it's a support, I wanna say, and the EX version is a defender.
okay. I don't know off the top of my head, but
So, I mean, it's not uncommon
yeah.
to, just for the purposes of making the game interesting, doing something that doesn't really fit with the narrative mold, of the character or the mobile suit that is in question, right?
So, would you say then there's any sort of, rules you see a rule that they've established? Maybe it really is just attack, defend, support, have those specific, weapon, what do you call them? Weapon modifiers
Yeah, I
or
think that
defense?
they do they have fixed weapon modifiers, even though, like, the weapon damage and maybe the weapon range, the weapon, area that they can attack, sometimes that will change, but the weapon modifiers themselves are very much locked into the type that, they are, referencing. Goji in chat, I gotta shout this one out because one of the best morning show talk comments, and I'm gonna say it in Gino's accent, obviously. "If my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike." What? Wait. My wife and I throw that phrase around so much because
What
it's
is
just
that
like
from? I don't even know.
it is so it's from a British morning talk show. There's a chef, Gino, I forget his last name,
Oh.
but he was making, like, a cheese pasta, and one of the show hosts says something like, "Well, if you put ham in it, this would be like kind of like a British carbonara." He goes, "Well, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. What do you say? It make no sense." Like,
That's I love it. That's good.
yeah, it's so spot on. So one of the other things that I suggested to the development team of, in that survey, because obviously SR or SP conversions for pilots was a big thing. What I recommended was, how you have upgrade equipment, right? So like
Yeah.
you can this upgrade gives your unit 400 plus defense, or this unit gets 7% added to their HP. What if you had upgrade equipment that takes that slot but gives one of your weapons one of the effects that another type would have?
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I brought this up was not necessarily to address this particular deficiency in the game, in my opinion, but rather, I mentioned in the past that, like, when I use SP conversion on, like, an SR unit, the raw attack value and the raw, like, combat output of that unit does get better than its SSR counterpart. Perfect example would be the Tall Geese versus the Tall Geese 2.
Mm.
When you use SP conversion on the Tall Geese, even without leveling it up, it becomes stronger than the Tall Geese 2, which has higher stats, has weapon abilities, all of this good stuff. But no matter what you do with that Tall Geese, it is never going to have uh, the same debuff abilities that the Tall Geese 2 does. So what if you had weapon equips similar to, like, the standard upgrades that you can equip, that just took whatever the top weapon is, the longest range weapon of that unit, and gives them a ability similar to this, whether it's, you know, maybe you have an attack ability that increases the attack power of the unit. You can have a support ability that reduces the defense of a unit, or you can have the defense ability that reduces the attack of the unit that it's hitting.
Yeah. I think they need to hire you. Hire you on to Yeah, you see that sometimes where yeah, you can go as deep as modifying the weapon and even put something on it that kinda doesn't make sense. You know how sometimes,
Yeah.
like, maybe 20% sight or something on, where on a shotgun, I don't know, or you know what I mean, where you can kinda play
Well,
around.
and what I love about those types of things, like when it comes to an an equipment ability is that you're using a slot that would otherwise be used for something else. So it's not like there's zero cost associated with doing this because in theory, you're then using this ability to give your mobile suit a weapon ability instead of giving it a buff that's going to increase its HP, that's going to increase its defense, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm a big fan of that. Like, I mean, call me the Merovingian from freaking The Matrix Reloaded, but like when it comes to game design, like cost is everything to me. Like, you just you don't get anything for free. Everything
Yeah.
comes with a trade-off.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because as I was thinking, if you're gonna add these buffs to these weapons, or and it could be where you can pull some sort of attribute out of one suit into another.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be it's almost like sacrificing.
Yeah, that would be an interesting way to do it. Like,
Mhm.
in the same way that you can use mobile suits as development material, like when you're doing
Yeah.
the upgrades, you almost it's like if you use a different mobile suit from like,
Yeah,
you can then, like, steal powers from that mobile suit and apply them to the one that you're trying to upgrade.
kinda like
That would
Gundam
be
Breaker, right? Wasn't it kin
yeah,
and that would work especially when you get all those lower, cheaper units and you have, like, tons of them,
yeah.
and you're
Well,
really just going through the motions of breaking them down where it could be, "Oh, I can maybe experiment."
exactly, and, it goes to the idea that like, for instance, I have a fully maxed out Desultor in G Generation Eternal. It's still garbage because it is a basic like, I think it's a normal rarity unit. It doesn't have any special abilities whatsoever. The only thing it helped me to do is it helped me to beat the Witch from Mercury story mode,
Oh, yeah.
but, like but the Desultor is, like, one of my favorite mobile suits.
Yeah.
So it's like,
You
if
wish it
I
had more.
could buff
Yeah.
it up and use it in a more effective way, absolutely, I would try to. But let's face it, they're never going to make an ultra rare EX Desultor. Like, it's just
I and that's a good point. When I would first play Eternal, it's like, well, I would rather use this type of suit, but this is the more powerful one, so I guess I'm gonna use this, and, sometimes, yeah, games are made to be that way, but at the same time, does that mean it's a similar meta for everyone, so everyone's kinda playing the game the same,
Yeah,
you know?
'cause and you can even see it in when you're playing Master League, is that everyone has the same EX units, like, everyone's
Ah,
running the
okay.
same loadouts, right? And if they're not, then they're usually losing.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
but but when you go back to some previous generation G generation games, you could take a standard like Zaku, and if you just played it enough and without getting it destroyed, you could level it up and make it something powerful
Uh,
by
yeah.
maxing it out.
Yeah, so that I guess that's one of the things when it comes to G generation and being on mobile. It's hard for me to play it like I would play a console game because it doesn't necessarily have any sort of like outline or plan objective of what you do. I mean, it has the missions you do, but they're gonna always add more missions.
Yep,
There it's not like you can go your own way and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna play the missions this way with these units." Because, some of the missions that are there, you have to use from that, series. So
right.
that is interesting, and I wonder if that's a way so they can calculate how much potentially a person would be spending on the game, since it's kind
That's
of
an
all the same.
interesting hypothesis because
Yeah.
at a certain point, like, you do have to log either a certain amount of hours or you have to spend a certain amount of money to get the units required to achieve certain, results.
Mhm.
Because it is possible to be successful in this game free to play, similar to GBO2. It is possible to play these games without spending any money and still be competitive, but it's gonna require that you do very specific things, right? It's like, if it's GBO2, then you're, like, saving tokens and you're being more tactical about what units you choose and which matches you choose to play in, because it's like, if I only have a certain selection of mobile suits, I can't play in every single ranked match because maybe I have to only play in the 600 range because I don't have any 300 suits that are competitive,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, and I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that, but, like, can't we do better? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, because yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the Eternal Road stages, like I said, there are certain stages that it's like you just have to have a unit that can do X, or you have to have a pilot that has 2 defense abilities, which it's not hard to get those things because they're available, but it does mean that you're either gonna have to play more or you're gonna have to just spend in order to get them randomly.
Yeah. Which, at the end of the day, there's a lot of cool content here. But, in the back of my mind, I feel bad that I'm not playing it as much as I feel like I could. But I really do think it's because it's on a mobile phone, even
I
though
can
that
understand
seems
that.
odd. Yeah. I
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's a certain aspect of convenience to it because, you can just kind of pick it up and hop in anywhere, but then at the
yeah.
same time, it really is designed around being a phone game because very rarely, I would say, like, 15% of the time am I actually playing a stage versus just using the skip abilities and, like,
Yeah.
doing my dailies and getting the rewards for it.
Yeah, a
Um,
lot of and I think that's what it is. I mean, so the Metal Slug, oh, I forget what it's called. Last year, a Metal Slug game came out that's pretty much G Generation, but Metal Slug, where it's not that it's turn-based, but it plays just like old Metal Slug, but there's just level after level after level. And then I found,
mm,
yeah, that I was spending most of my time when I'd log in doing all the menu item stuff. And it's like,
yeah,
I guess I've gotten to a point now with my age when I play games where that turns me off. Like, when I think G Generation, I'm just thinking the main menu and pressing, or Eternal specifically, depressing to go
yeah,
into the things, and then I just lose interest. Um,
exactly.
yeah.
I wish there was, like, a way to once you hit a certain stage, like, for instance, with the upgrade stages, if you've beaten all of the upgrade stages, basically every day they reset, and every day you can skip them 3 times, and every day you get the same number of,
Yeah.
uh, upgrade tokens for each upgrade stage that you do. Do I have to necessarily go in and push the button to say, "Skip 3 times, give me my tokens, skip 3 times, give me my
I
tokens," like,
know.
there really should just be like a, "Hey, you've beaten this section of the game, skip all of it to give you the thing," you know?
Yeah, but it's weird how then the game was designed for you to be getting that daily. You
Yeah,
know what I
well,
mean?
so I think that when you're first starting out, it is a challenge because you're working through 5 levels of difficulty,
Mhm.
and each time, like, you still only get 3 skips, and so, and they do get progressively more difficult. So when you're just starting out, it is tricky to get to the top level and then max it out, but once it's maxed out, it's like,
Well, I think even just the concept of skipping.
"Oh, yeah."
Like, I feel like it's almost like they're saying, "Yep, this is gonna be played like a mobile menu simulator."
100%.
And yeah.
And it would be different if there were ways to manipulate the RNG because, for instance, there are certain units, like in the development track, one unit that I'm still trying to max out is the Gundam Ilfrith
Hmm.
from which from Mercury. I don't have enough of, like, the development material to get that unit, and so but you can only get the development material for that unit in one stage of which from Mercury. So, every day, I log in, skip 3 times. Did I get any? No. Log in, skip 3 times. Did I get any? I got 1. Alright, I still need 2
Mm.
more. Log in, skip 3 times. Did I get any? No. So, it becomes this game of just like, I guess I'll just wait until I can do it. But if there was a way to manipulate the RNG where it's like, okay, if I play it, instead of skipping, like maybe skipping gets you the random result. But if I play it and I do a certain task in the stage in order to get the development material that I'm trying to get, I think that that would be more interesting.
It would. You keep people playing, you keep them in the game. You're giving them something to do that is part of the game. If
Yes.
you're giving me stuff to do that has nothing to do with the game, I just kinda get disinterested, especially if it's almost, like, required if you wanna keep going without spending money,
Right.
which, and I don't know if they would ever I don't know if any company's ever tested this, but if they gave an option to pay for, like 60 bucks or whatever they'd make it now, and it's almost like you got the unlocked version. Even though there would still be the free to play stuff coming in that might
Yeah,
still require paying to beat, but you'd still get this huge arsenal of
that would be interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kinda reminds me of what Capcom started doing with all of the Resident Evil games, which, love it or hate it, like, in, like, the Resident Evil remake games, you can just buy DLC that unlocks all of the stuff
Oh,
that you would normally have to beat the game under certain conditions in order to unlock. Um, I don't necessarily mind that.
I
Uh,
look at it like I'm not spending money on Eternal, but if I spent 60 bucks where I have all this stuff I could potentially complete and unlock, then I'm gonna spend my time with it to the point to where when free stuff comes in, I'll be like, "Well, I've got all this stuff that I'll be able to enjoy playing the free missions and maps with or whatever." So, I think there's a balance there, and I don't think the companies really know what to do.
well, and I think part of the problem is that the game itself doesn't have, like, if you were to buy like, if there was, like, a season pass, for instance, for G
Yeah.
Generation Eternal, it's not like it gives you access to more content, it just gives you access to more suits,
Or
and
it would be where then, like, the way the upgrade materials work, for instance, where you wouldn't have to do menu-based stuff,
okay.
and it's almost like you're kinda this is how much you would have gotten. It would be very interesting and different. That might be way too complicated, but I feel like there's an opportunity there.
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely, like I like this idea of, like, jailbreaking the game in a way,
Yeah,
um, but does that ooh, I don't know. I would love to see what like a simulation of how that would play out. Like,
yeah,
does it affect their bottom line when it comes to
right.
revenue? Or, you know, uh, like you said, I know I would probably just drop 60 bucks flat if I just
Yep.
had the opportunity to just buy it flat out, I would, um, as opposed to doing the free to play thing. But I don't know that everyone would. And I don't know what the
Right, so,
trade-off would
like,
be.
let's say they had it as an option to buy for 60, and a lot of people did that, and then at the end of the day, they realized they didn't make as much money.
Exactly.
And that really could be what it is at the end of the day, you know? It
Right, because that is, what makes the world go round.
yeah, yeah,
So, in your perspective, when is and it's difficult to say with, like, a live service type game like this where it's got ongoing support, so there
yeah.
are opportunities for power creep and scope creep, but, like, when is the right time to break a game and break its rules in order to satisfy its customers, in your opinion?
For a game like this, a year.
A year?
'Cause I would think it's only gonna be around for about 3, maybe 4 years.
That's probably a fair assessment. I
Yeah.
mean, every month they have so every week they do a different type of event. Sometimes it's just like the fierce battle events, sometimes it's a story event, sometimes it's like the map events. So they have a different type of event every week, and every week that means new banner suits, that means a new focus on a particular story or a particular series. So you're talking about a lot of ground to cover, but I think that they can do it really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider what they did with GBO2, coming up with all that content, and then now you have all AU. So,
Right. Yeah, now they're branching out because they're out of things to do, and that took 7 years to get to that
yeah,
point. So,
I know, that's crazy.
um,
Yeah.
interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about all I have for this evening. I appreciate you guys indulging me on this kind of conversation around game design and game theory because really at the end of the day, as Gary Vee puts it, we live in an attention economy, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
everybody is competing for your attention, for your eyeballs, because that is how they're going to make their money. Is they're going to sell you ads, they're going to upsell you on whatever you're paying attention to. So that's why social media is what it is, right? Is we're all competing for your attention. And so when it comes to game design, how do games manage and leverage your attention in order to keep you locked into that gameplay loop? And eventually, I think what you guys have been pointing out in the chat is that eventually you get to the point where none of the original game design matters because you've gone so far beyond the pale when it comes to
Yeah.
breaking the original game design in order to create units or to create cards or to create effects, whatever the game type might be, in order to create aspects of the game that add interest, like
Yeah, to keep it going,
to, just
which
just to keep it
I
interesting.
is it a sign where, okay, we should stop? It's like with Fortnite. I think Fortnite's a good example. It's
Mhm.
like, do you stop or you just keep making it as crazy as possible? And then Call of Duty follows the same thing. It's an interesting trend. How far, GBO2 adding AU units. That's like the trend, you know?
Right, yeah, because ultimately you either add more of the same, which can be boring, because then
Yeah.
people are gonna sit there and they're gonna say like, "Oh, why are they
Halo.
adding this mobile suit to GBO2? Like, there's this other mobile suit that already does that same thing, but better."
Yep.
Or you add a mobile suit that does something different, and people are like, "Well, now this mobile suit doesn't is
Yeah.
worthless because you have this one that does this better." And so it's like you're always gonna design yourself into a corner. It's just whether you design yourself at the beginning or the end.
Yeah. No, it's true. And, at the end of the day, there's not, many other people that kinda go into this conversational deep dive around Eternal in terms of what the meta is, what it looks like, best practices for how to utilize units and upgrades and all that, so I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that.
I hope so, and I hope that people take this kind of thing to heart when it comes to designing their own games, when designing their own workflows and things like
Yeah.
that they can apply because to be honest with you, a lot of game designers are kind of ignoring that right now, so it makes
Sure.
like, there's never been a greater opportunity for people to break into game design and game development as newcomers than now, where you can learn from everybody else's mistakes and leverage that to your advantage.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate this lively conversation. I
Yeah.
honestly didn't expect us to stay on SD Gundam this long,
Yeah.
but it's not like there was too many other exciting things to talk about this evening. If you guys haven't checked it out, definitely go watch Adam's video on the
Oh, yeah, Super Robot Wars Y.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of SD Gundams,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
or SD Mecha in general.
Yeah, SD Mecha, that's right.
There you
Yeah,
go. Tune in tomorrow for the Gundam Explained show
that's
live
right.
over on Gundam Explained. Again, link down in the description. And there will be some new products dropping on the website
Ooh,
soon. I'm really excited to share this stuff with you because we are expanding in a big, big way. But in the
wow.
meantime, I'm gonna go let my dog in because she apparently is still
She
outside.
wants to be part of the conversation.
She wants to be in here, and she's like, "Yeah." There you go.
Yeah, now she hears.
She's into it, man.
That's
So
funny.
thank you guys so much. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and we will catch you later.
See y'all.